What is up YouTube? Welcome back to another video. I'm Benny with Plants, Fitness, and Friends, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about probiotic-rich, gut-healthy foods, as well as showing you my favorite gut-healthy recipe. So to talk a little bit about the gut and how to keep it healthy or how to make it healthier, our gut is balanced with good and bad bacteria. This is a really simple explanation. Of course, I'm not a gut doctor. I'm not a doctor of any kind. This is just what I've read about it. But pretty much the gut is balanced between good and bad bacteria. And when the bad bacteria starts to take over, you can have a number of gut health issues leading to things like IBS, like SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And pretty much conditions like those can lead to experiencing very unpleasant, unfavorable symptoms such as extreme stomach cramping and things of that nature. Now, that is where probiotics come in. You've probably heard the word. A lot of people take probiotic supplements to help improve their gut health or to help fix their gut. And while that is definitely a viable option, probiotics can often be expensive and can often be sometimes ineffective depending on the type of probiotic you're getting. This is why I like to consume probiotic-rich foods, because they are cheaper and sometimes they're significantly more effective in healing your gut and in providing a higher level of CFUs, which are colony-forming units of probiotics in your gut. So today what I want to do is take you through a couple of my favorite probiotic-rich foods and show you how to put them in a really tasty, really simple, healthy meal that you can eat any day of the week, whenever you want. All right, folks, so I have here my two favorite probiotic foods that I eat pretty regularly, and the first is none other than sauerkraut. Now, sauerkraut is pretty much just a form of fermented cabbage. It's actually really easy to make, and it's a lot cheaper to make too, so if you wanted to do that, you definitely can. It pretty much just requires a head of cabbage, some water, and I think some salt, and then a jar, and you have to spend some time waiting, but I bought this for convenience. I really like this brand. They sell it at Costco for pretty cheap. And sauerkraut is probably my favorite fermented probiotic-rich food, mostly because it is just so good on my gut. When I eat sauerkraut regularly, I genuinely feel a difference in my gut health. I usually have some problems with gluten, but in the past few weeks I've been eating sauerkraut pretty regularly, and my gluten problems have almost completely disappeared. I can eat gluten as much as I want now, and I really have no issues. And on top of that, I was taking a probiotic supplement for a while, but when I did a little bit of research, it turns out that sauerkraut actually has almost as many or more than a regular probiotic supplement in terms of CFUs. 2 tablespoons of this stuff is pretty much equivalent to like more than one probiotic pill. It could be like 2, 3, maybe 5 depending on the supplement you're taking. And so if you eat more than 2 tablespoons, or 2 tablespoons really isn't that much if you're putting it on food, you could put it 5 easily, 5 tablespoons. And there you have way more probiotics than a regular probiotic supplement for way significantly cheaper. Now, as I said, it could be even cheaper, very much cheaper if you make it yourself. But if you want convenience, you do need to get raw, organic, probably like unfiltered, unpasteurized sauerkraut. Stuff in a can or in a jar that's like cheap probably won't do the job. It needs to be cold, it needs to be refrigerated, it needs to be raw sauerkraut. And this stuff has, again, tons and tons of colony-forming units for your gut. And my second favorite probiotic-rich food that I eat a significant amount of is tempeh. And tempeh is, in this form at least, fermented soybeans. And you don't have to use soybeans. If you're making it yourself, you can make it with whatever beans you want. If you have trouble digesting beans, tempeh is a fantastic way to make it easier on your gut, just because when it goes through the fermenting process, tempeh actually is almost pre-digested in a lot of ways. The fermenting process pre-digests the proteins a little bit, the carbs, the fats, and it makes it just easier on your stomach to digest, again, if you have problems with beans. This stuff is also super high in calcium, super high in protein because of the soybeans, and super high in probiotics. Now, as I'll show you when I'm cooking in a little bit, you do want to make sure that when you're cooking this stuff, you don't cook it at too high a temperature so that you don't kill the probiotics in it. Again, for this recipe, I think I'll be getting most of my probiotics from the sauerkraut here. This stuff, again, is just loaded with probiotics, and I'm not going to cook it, so all of the probiotic units are going to be preserved because the heat didn't kill any, because it's not going to be cooked again. But still, we're probably going to be getting some extra probiotics from this tempeh as well. And we actually do make tempeh, Sarah and I, and usually when I eat tempeh, it's tempeh that I've made. The process is pretty simple, and I'll show you that in a future video along with maybe sauerkraut and like kimchi or kombucha or something like that too. But for now, it was just easier to buy it, and I didn't have any made, and it takes a couple of days, although it's not a lot of maintenance. It does take a couple of days. So again, I'll show you that in a future video, but for today, I'm just going to be using this packaged Light Life tempeh, which is just fine to use as well. Now, for the rest of this recipe, it's actually a pretty simple meal. Like I said before, it's really quick, especially if you have something like an Instant Pot to help you cook some of the food. But I'm just going to show you here what else is going to be going into it. The first thing as a base is going to be some quinoa. Quinoa is actually classified as a seed, which I didn't know for a while, but it acts as a grain if you didn't know. It kind of acts like couscous, but it's a little healthier because it's got a lot more minerals in it. It's got a lot more nutrients than couscous does, although couscous is not super unhealthy. But so yeah, quinoa as the base, and then some tahini. I'm going to show you a sauce that I'm going to make. It's very simple. You don't need anything but a bowl, a spoon, and some other basic spices. And I'm going to show you that after I get this other stuff cooking. But yes, tahini is going to be the base for the sauce. And then I also have some kale here, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to prepare this kale. Again, really easy. I'm just going to strip it down, wash it off, and throw it in a pan, maybe with a tiny bit of pinch of salt, and saute it up so that it's a little bit cooked, so it's easier to digest on my stomach. Now, I did want to say that probiotics are not the only way to keep your gut healthy. Your gut responds positively to whole plant foods, to fibrous foods, and the positive bacteria in your gut, the good gut bacteria, feed off of these good products. Now, the bad bacteria feeds off of more bad products like diet pizzas or processed sugar or treats like that. Now, I'm not saying you need to be 100% clean all the time. I'm certainly not, as even on this channel I've showed you some recipes that are not as healthy as they could be. But you do want to keep the majority of your diet eating whole plant foods, eating foods that are good for your gut health rather than destructive to it. All right, folks, so before I do anything, I'm going to cook the quinoa first. I am going to be using my Instant Pot because it's extremely simple and easy to use for this recipe. But you definitely don't have to use an Instant Pot. Again, you can cook quinoa in a regular pot. It's also really easy. This just requires zero maintenance whatsoever. You just put it in, you turn it on, and when it beeps, it's done. So I have about 1.5 cups of quinoa here. You definitely can cook however much you want. I'm probably not gonna eat all of this right now, but I like to have extra quinoa and extra grains and beans on hand in the fridge. It makes eating and cooking really easy, and it makes me cook less, which I like. So I'm just gonna make a little extra, but again, you make whatever you would like to eat, or if you wanna have some extra, you can make as much as I'm making. All right, folks, so 1.5 cups of quinoa, then 1.5 cups of water. I like to do this, make sure it all gets mixed around. And then just a little bit of salt here. Put the lid on, sit for 1 minute. So next up is the kale here. You definitely don't need to buy a whole kale like this. I just like to because it's a little cheaper. You can buy kale in a bag previously chopped already, and then you can use that to saute up. But I'll just show you how I prepare kale. So pretty much you start with this bunch here, and you're gonna take off the stem. Hold it like this, kind of pinch, and the leaf comes right off, just like that. And I also have a strainer down here, so I'm putting all of the kale that I peel off in a strainer, and then I'm gonna rinse it off so that it's clean. So I got that kale all washed off, and now I do have my block of tempeh here. I'm gonna chop this up into strips. You can definitely chop it up however you want. You can cube it. That would be another way that I would be interested in doing, but I also like strips. So today I'm gonna do strips, and then I'm gonna get it on the pan for you. I'm getting the pan ready here, and I'm about to turn on the heat, but I just wanted to remind you that if you're gonna cook tempeh, you wanna try to cook it at like low, maybe low medium heat, just so that the probiotics inside don't die. If you cook it too high, the heat will kill the probiotics. So if you don't really care about that, tempeh is still good on your gut. It's still easily digestible, even without the probiotics, but if you're trying to get the full benefits of tempeh, cooking it at a lower temperature would be ideal. And at the same time that I'm getting this tempeh started, I'm also gonna get the kale ready. I am gonna be cooking it in this pot here. We don't have a pan yet right now. We just moved in not long ago, but a pan would work probably better, although a pot will do just fine. I'm gonna put the kale in, I'm gonna steam it with the lid on top, and then we'll get both going, and we're gonna make the tahini sauce when both are already cooking. All right, folks, so as you just saw, the kale is pretty much done. That was a pretty quick cooking process for the kale there. And tempeh is still cooking. So right now, while that stuff's still going, I'm gonna make this tahini sauce for you here. So just to show you the ingredients, I have about a half cup of tahini right there. For those of you that don't know what tahini is, it's pretty much just ground sesame seeds, which are really high in calcium, really high in iron. And then over here, I have some lemon juice, about a quarter cup of lemon juice. And then the spices I'm going to be using are garlic, onion, cumin, and salt. I really like using garlic and onion in most of my sauces. It's really, really tasty. It adds a great combination of flavor as base. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put this lemon juice right in here. Add about a teaspoon of garlic, about a teaspoon of onion powder, and then just a little sprinkle of cumin, and just a pinch of salt here. Then you're going to want to mix it all up. And then if you like it this thick, you can definitely leave it like that. I'm going to add just a little bit of water, maybe like an 1/8 cup. And what you can do is you can just add water until you get your desired consistency here. Water will just let it be a little bit easier to get on there, on your food. Adds a thinner sauce. And you'll get more bang for your buck too, because when you add water, the sauce goes a little farther, lasts a little bit longer. A little more water here. And I'm gonna add a little bit more because I like a little thinner consistency. So the quinoa is ready as well. It's been sitting for 24 minutes. So I'm just gonna press cancel here so it stops keep warm. And then I'm gonna open it up. So it looks like all the components of this bowl are ready to go right now. So I'm gonna go and construct it and then I'll be with you right after that. Alright folks, so I just constructed this bowl. I'm really excited to eat it, although I will say I'm a little disappointed with how the drizzle came out. I'm sorry it doesn't look perfect, but it still looks delicious nonetheless. And I'll give you a little taste test on camera here, as usual. Get a piece of tempeh in there, try to get a little of everything. Man, that sauce came out so good. Like a little bitter from the tahini, but still tangy, and got that garlicky onioniness in there. Really good. And then with the sriracha, of course, my good old buddy sriracha. It tastes really good. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content from me, please subscribe. I really hope you learned something today. I really hope what I told you helps you with your gut if you're having issues. And even if you're not having issues, it's always good to make sure your gut is upholstered with good foods that keep it strong for a long time. Because if you have a strong gut now, it doesn't mean it will always be that way forever. So eating probiotic-rich foods, eating fermented whole foods, those will keep your gut positive, keep your gut feeling good. So if you try this dish, please let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. I would love to hear your opinions. I would love to hear your modifications if you have any. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.